most of the ethical funds that are out there tend to be active. So people who don't know what that means, there's normally a fund manager who is picking the individual companies for whatever reasons to make sure that they meet a particular remit that they've got or a mandate. And therefore, the belief obviously is that that's more expensive way of doing it. There's extra charges. But what about investing passively in an ethical way? I mean, are there options out there to do it? I mean, Alice, you talk about this in your book in particular. So it'd be interesting, and some of the drawbacks actually, because you mentioned about these sort of indices these track.
Yeah, so basically, you can totally have a passive ESG fund. It will be, at the moment, what you have is the index providers that are creating the normal indices like S&P 500 or FTSE 100 index that, you know, a passive fund will track. They will modify that a little bit. So they'll call it, actually, Maura, I'm not sure if, is there a FTSE 100 ESG? FTSE all companies ESG, but you'll know the more specific. But anyway, some of the mainstream indices, they'll adapt them and have the same name with ESG added in.
There's a FTSE for good, Alice.
FTSE for good, of course.
Yeah. I was about to say the FTSE for good's out there.
Yeah. And then MSCI has various ESG indices based on all of its indices around the world. But they'll just tweak it a little bit, and they'll sometimes remove the offending companies or the really obviously offending companies, and then they'll maybe change the weightings and overweight it a little bit towards some of the, you know, in their eyes, more sustainable companies. But I think what's important to understand is that this is, again, only the opinion of the index provider, and you can have quite different opinions on whether a company is considered sustainable or not. So you have like some slightly controversial companies like Tesla. Some indices will include that in their ESG, ratings as an ESG friendly company, and others because it's the environmental side, and others really don't because it has, you know, questions over its governance. And so it is all a matter of opinion at this point. So you run that risk when you're buying a passive ESG, but equally, I think you also run that risk when you're buying an active fund, because that's depending on the fund manager's opinion. But in both cases, you can sort of do a little digging yourself and try and work out what the philosophy of the fund is, why they've made the decisions that they've made, and then ask yourself, well, am I comfortable with that? Does this align with what I think? And you can probably find something that aligns with whatever it is you think, whatever your position is. There'll probably be something out there that is right for you, whether that's active or passive.